Alright everyone, welcome back again to more Witch on the Holy Night. We finally reach a particular turning point in this story with the arrival of a new character. And without going into any specifics, I'll let you guys see it for yourselves. So if anything else, hope you all continue to enjoy. Thank you again for all the love and support. Let's continue on. Alright everyone, welcome back. One last small whisper. And with that, she bid farewell to the lonely figure in the tank. The sun sets early during winter, falling below the horizon by 4 in the afternoon. Evening seemed to arrive at the mansion earlier than in the city.
なるほど。君の生態はよくわかった。
Sojiro sat alone, sipping his warm tea in the chilly room. He relaxed on the couch, staring out the window, having had his fill of crocodiles. Once he sprawled out on the sofa, his body refused to move. Maybe he's had always wanted to try it. After 3 straight hours of crocodile watching, he wondered what it would be like to laze there for the remainder of the day, as he nervously checked over his shoulder. Just as he was considering taking the opportunity to nap until Aoko and Alice returned, an unfamiliar sound echoed through the halls of the mansion. Undergoing a sluggish evolution of his very own, he rose from all fours to being a bipedal. There was a knocking sound at regular intervals. The sound, distinctly coming from the front door, was more familiar now. He had experienced it before during his days in the apartment.
新聞の勧誘か?
As he made for the foyer, Sojiro noted how impressed he was that they had hiked all the way up to the hill. The sound resounded eerily. Without a doorbell of any kind, visitors had no chance but to rap on the door using whatever they had in hand. It would take an iron-clenched fist to produce that kind of sound. From his position in the hall, the front door looked like an ornately built fortification. The strong double doors looked as though they could withstand any onslaught of blows. They rattled in protest to the repeated knocking. Try as this person might, it seemed no amount of enemy attack could breach the castle gate. But Sojiro, having experience selling newspapers himself, announced himself.
はい、今開けます。
He knew what it was like to be in their shoes, so was unsurprised by their unwillingness to surrender.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Wasn't that the girl from the casino, the pachinko parlor? There stood the second surprise today. Sojiro stood speechless and motionless. The young woman hardly looked the part of a newspaper salesman. Standing in the courtyard against a backdrop of dusk horizon, she looked more suited to being a resident of this Western-style mansion, at least more so than Sojiro. She had a dainty frame, but a striking presence nonetheless. She was a little shorter than Sojiro, but tall for a woman. Her light green clothing was delicate yet flashy, and clearly something out of a foreign fashion. Bold but prim and proper. Though slightly loud, her appearance spoke of strength and confidence. The kind of woman not to be trifled with that Sojiro knew all too well. Only, unlike the ones he knew, the woman appeared more friendly than intimidating. Perhaps it was her short hair that made her look approachable. Bright and brown, it stopped just above the nape of her neck. Sojiro, yet to say a word, thought what a shame it was to be so short. She looked at him and offered a smile. Despite looking older than Sojiro, this made her appear impish and cute. Sojiro knew himself to be made of stronger stuff than to fall for cute smiles, and found him more than a little suspicious. At any rate, it was rude to stare for so long.
どちら様でしょうか?
He asked shyly, steeling himself. To which she replied,
こんばんは。青子います?
She smiled as she used Aoko's first name with a sense of familiarity.
青崎はいないんです。
She smiled again, this time deviously, upon learning of Aoko's absence.
それじゃあクオンジさんも留守なんだ。
Sojiro looked perplexed. This was the first time he had heard Alice referred to by her last name only, and again spoken with customary respect.
そっか。夜ならともかく日中から二人で出かけるとは感心感心。形だけの雑居だろうと思ったけど、ちゃんとうまくいってるのね。
Sojiro found himself nodding in response to her smile. Though it was clear she knew Aoko and Alice, she was giving him an uncomfortable feeling. Likely in her mid-20s, she did not appear that much older than he was. Behind her carefree tone and bright smile, she was clearly trying to hide something.
それじゃあ帰ってくるにしても夜？
はい、終電前には帰ってくると思いますけど。
そう。ところで君、誰？
Sojiro, ever so troubled by her forwardness, wanted to ask her the same. Alas, who are you was a question far too difficult for Sojiro.
すみません。誰かと言われてもよくわからなくて。とりあえず、今は留守番してますけど、実は青崎の友人なんです。
A response with not an ounce of truth to it. The young woman's face lit up at what she believed was the boy's attempt to tease her.
へえ、面白いこと言うのね、君。名前はなんて言うの？
静木宗十郎というのですが。
His shy answer made her giggle. Sojiro could not understand what he said that was so funny, but her laugh did not offend him. Rather than seeming derogatory, it came across as warm and affable. Then, after finishing giggling, she looked him straight in the eye and gave him a soft look.
いや、気に入ったわ。宗十郎くんだっけ？君には合わない名前だけど、それも暗示的で素敵だし。じゃあ、そういうわけで、お茶でも入れてくれない？
あ、いや。
She stepped past him into the mansion and swiftly left him at the door.
うわ、呆れた。ほんと以前のまんまじゃない。せっかくこっちに持ってきたんだから、悪いところはリフォームしたものと思ったけど、何も柱の歪みまで再現しなくてもいいのにね。
She said cheerfully, inspecting the foyer. Sojiro still stood at the entrance. The clicking of her heels on the wooden floor jumped around as she moved towards the drawing room.
どうしたの？こっちでしょ？今は。
She disappeared from the foyer into the drawing room, oddly familiar with the layout of the house.
青崎かアリス、どっちかの先輩かな。
Sojiro muttered to himself, walking to the drawing room. He entered to see the woman walking around the room gleefully, like a child seeing a park the first time in ages, breathing in the nostalgia, twirling as girls tend to do.
よく見れば、このテレビって。
She stared at the television inquisitively, perhaps owing to the fact that she had never seen a 30-inch television before. Awkwardly, the TV was still displaying images of the wild animal kingdom. Sojiro wished he would have stopped the video before he answered the door.
もし。
He blurted out, attempting to regain his composure. He had many questions, but first he resolved himself to, at the very least, ask her name. With that, she turned to him with a cold look on her face. She glared at Sojiro over her glasses, her long and slender brows pointing at him, all as if to hint at a threat. A gaze that made him feel like he had chosen his words very poorly. Sojiro apologetically clammed up. The young woman moved in.
やだな、宗十郎くん。もし、なんてかしこまって。私、そんなおばさんに見える？
She snickered. Her disapproving glare melted into a teasing smile. Of course not. It would be more accurate to say she had the air of an older sister. Or at least, that is how Sojiro attempted to reply, using only gestures, to which she grinned smugly.
よろしい。 ならそんな他人行儀な話し方はやめましょう。つまらないし柄じゃないわ。
She said, taking a seat on the sofa, naturally and effortlessly, and without making a sound. Her posture and movements exuded sophistication, and she required no words to instruct him to hurry along and make the tea. Without pressing her further, Sojiro headed to the kitchen. He figured she would not talk until she had had some tea. He chose the falcon he was forced to replace once before, after using it without permission. Since she was here to see Aoko, he would serve her the tea in Aoko's Sever's teacup. Into the cup as blue as the ocean depths, he carefully poured the tea before returning to the drawing room. Gently, he placed the teacup on the table and looked at the woman.
尋ねるのが遅れましたけど、青崎の知り合いかな。
Despite being told otherwise, Sojiro could not help but stand on ceremony. He would actively have to try not to. Displeased or disappointed, she glared at him once again.
その青崎っていうのをやめてくれない？なんだかくすぐったくて。青子でいいでしょ、呼び方は。
She said not at all upset as she slowly raised the cup to her lips to take a sip. It was the kind of moment Aoko and Alice might react to by berating the boy, but the woman chose to brush it off with a smile. Though he did not realize it in the moment, he would soon enough understand that some people did appreciate his efforts, regardless of whether they were misguided.
ほら、立ってないで座って。見下ろされるのは好きじゃないんだ、私。
Sojiro tilted his head, noticing a slight familiarity to the manner of her speaking, almost as if he'd been talking to someone he had seen before.
あれ？
Looking at her sitting on the sofa, forgotten memories began to rise to the surface. Noticing his reaction, she became visibly delighted.
思い出した？私もちょっと驚いたわ。青子を訪ねに来たらいつか見た君が出迎えてくるんだから。
あ。
Now that she was laughing, Sojiro remembered everything. He had only seen her for an instant, but there was no mistake it was her. It had to be her, the woman smoking the long cigarette winning at the pachinko parlor.
あの時は私もショックだったな。宗十郎くん、目が合うなりいきなり逃げ出したでしょ？
Because he sensed something very dangerous about you. And I believe you're hiding it right now.
そんなに私ってこわもてなのかしらって、あの日の晩は真剣に悩んだんだから。
She clearly enjoyed the memory. She was right. He mistook the shadow he had seen in the park for this woman and ran, though he had learned it was Aoko a day later. Even though it was clearly a case of mistaken identity, he now knew why he had thought them one and the same.
そうか、雰囲気が似てるんだ。
Finally, he had realized the true identity of the woman before him. He chided himself for not realizing it sooner.
それじゃあ、あなたは。
Just as he was about to say it, she held up her hand to interrupt him. She pointed at him like she was aiming a gun.
ごめんなさい。君の仕草がちょっと可愛くてからかいが過ぎちゃった。自己紹介が遅れたけど、私は青崎瞳子。
So, her older sister?
率直に言うと、青子の実の姉ってわけね。
Aha! That figures. He should have known. With a smile that could impart courage to any that glanced upon it, Toko looked just like how Sojiro imagined Aoko would in the not-too-distant future. It all made sense. While Aoko was earnest and diligent, Toko was shrewd and playful.
あの子が困ってるって聞いてね。いい加減忠告してあげる気で、はるばるやってきたわけなのでした。
Aoko's sister chuckled coyly while sipping her tea. Lured by her charm, Sojiro sat on the sofa as well. He felt like he could relax a little now that the initial shock of receiving an unexpected guest had subsided. Just like that, it was almost 5 in the afternoon. Aoko and Alice would be returning from their excursion soon. This was Misaki City's only subway line. Only half a year had passed since its opening, and at the end of the fairly new platform, there the two girls stood. The time was 6:30 in the evening. They had been idling for around 20 minutes since returning from Arisaka and had yet to return to street level.
青子
There was a hint of irritation in Alice's voice.
ちょっと待って。あともう一回だけ。ね。
Aoko begged Alice, hands together, trembling from the code. It was rare to see her act this childish. There's no doubt Tobimaro would consider this behavior more strange than cute if he were there. From the end of the platform, Aoko peered into the creeping darkness to where the tracks led.
あなたの趣味変わってるわ。
Alice muttered, sitting on the bench with forbearance. Any other day, and she would have been fine heading back by herself, but today she was in a good mood and decided to humor Aoko. If possible, she would have liked to return still in good spirits, as such spells of positivity, for her at least, tended to dissipate sooner rather than later. Eyes calmly closed, her placid demeanor conveyed her feelings well enough. Thus, the two of them waited on the platform alone for a subway train they had no intention of riding. The recently opened subway. High prices and low familiarity made for relatively few passengers coming from Misaki City. Thanks to the low foot traffic, the platform was still as good as new. There was something primeval about a subway devoid of people. It was a picture of tranquility, free of human interference. Lifeless and silent. A land unmolested by living creatures where only speechless organisms dwelt. The artificial fluorescent lighting highlighted its soullessness. It was a cave where the light ended and the shadows began. Riderless vessels disappearing into the dark. The platform wedged between two tracks like a jetty stretching out into a subterranean sea of black. In this place far removed from the world above, Aoko waited with eyes closed for the familiar rumble. It was Aoko who proposed that they delay their return and wait on the platform. The reason was simple. Aoko Aozaki enjoyed the soothing sound of passing subway trains.
今年はもうライブハウスに行けそうもないし、これぐらいのわがままはいいでしょ
She said to Alice, her eyes still closed. Alice did not even nod as 3 trains had already passed following her decision to stay with Aoko. Silence again. Aoko waited for the next train with anticipation. Alice sat and stared at the wall of the subway patiently. According to the display board, the next train was due to arrive in 5 minutes. From the dark tunnel came wind and rumbling. A purposefully placed bounded field now surrounded the platform. There was no sign of any station personnel, and entrances and exits were few and narrow. With the lack of bystanders, the field was hardly necessary. Suddenly, 6 figures appeared in front of the stairs leading to the surface. All sharing the same face. Motionless, and with smiles like the crescent moon, they stared at Aoko and Alice.
鈍っているにも程があるわね。
Alice let out a quiet sigh.
どうかしたアリス。どうも何も。この駅で降りたのはあなたと私だけなの。気づいていた？そりゃあね。相変わらずここの地下鉄ってば利用客が少ないって。
Aoko cut herself off by tutting in annoyance.
で、そういうアリスはいつ気がついたの？憂鬱なことにたった今よ。青子ばかり責められないわね。あなたと私が一つならこんなこともなかったのに。つまらない例え話は口にしない。
Never moving or making eye contact, their words stoic and calm. In contrast, the figures near the stairs began to stir. They advanced in unison on all fours as they regressed to a quadrupedal state. Like human-sized ants, one after another they swarmed forth. The din of clattering came not just from the platform entrances, but from the subway tunnel as well. At a glance, they numbered at least 30 strong. The creepy sound of skittering echoed off the subway walls.
信じられない。これだけの自動人形集めたらうちどころかフランスの一等地も買えるんじゃない？ええ。もっともこんな出来じゃ買い手は見つからないでしょうけど。なんだ、ガラクタはガラクタか。
One of the horde leapt forward in response to Ako's insult. It was a sudden charge like a hurtling dump truck. Alice remained still. As though expecting the attack, Aoko swung her right arm in an arc. The blue missile of light was easily repelled. Her magic bullet, Snap, had little to no effect against the puppets. They scrambled over each other like frogs, heads jerking and twisting in search of prey.
全部で30か。悪いけど、一人でやらせてもらうわよ、アリス。この前の実力と思われたままじゃ不愉快だ。
As she spoke to Alice, who was still standing next to the bench, Aoko stepped forward the edge of the platform. From the myriad of regrets she still had from the amusement park, the House of Mirrors stung the most. She was caught off guard in the previous engagement with those puppets. With adequate preparation and confidence, and Alice's backup, she would not let that happen again. Igniting her magic crest, she would have revenged and be vindicated from
私の後ろまで下がって青子。そこにいたらあなたまで食べてしまう。
It took Alice raising one finger to the sky for Aoko to stop.
待って、アリス、それは。
In the depths of the ocean black, the bells of night chimed out. The jetty, as if embraced by a sea god like Poseidon or Wadatsumi, was awash with white particles.
青子のやり方じゃ跡が残るでしょう。もうじき次の電車も来るし、それに。
From beyond the white veil, her form blurred and stretched upward on tiptoes. Like a melancholy ballerina, the figures surrounding the prima ballerina bristled in response to the strange aura. Though puppets were inhuman mystical vessels, they had more reason to fear Alice than they did the human Aoko. They began to flee. Whoever their master was, they sensed enough danger to order a retreat. However, it was too late. The lead dancer in this ballet had them captivated, unable to move, as if their Achilles tendons had been severed.
それに気分を台無しにされたのはあなただけじゃないわ。
She removed her black glove. Unlike her mansion demeanor, her cool aura morphed into a fierce, biting cold one, freezing all in their tracks. Gloves floated to the ground. The white haze grew ever thicker. The massive shadows cried out for mercy.
さあ、ごっこ遊びをしましょう。
Within the dense nebulous mist, a dark fairy tale manifested. From inside, the only thing seemingly real was the sound of her voice, a macabre melody. Feasting, grinding, crunching. At last, the final puppet fell. On the walls, on the floor, on the ceiling. The tragic sounds of their demise filled the air. Their twisted shrieks plastering the subway surfaces like indelible blood-like stains. All 30 of the puppets promptly yet slowly, as though to savor their taste, were completely devoured by the mystifying monster. All save one appendage, a loathsome severed arm on the platform.
持ってきてたの、あれ。
Aoko spoke sideways to Alice, making no attempt to hide her disgust. A beast of the fog. One of her great three ploys, Kickshaw. The Mindster's Rosehound, Wondersnatch. It was a name carrying immense violence and devastation. Aoko's words stung since Alice was the one harboring its true form. The great three ploys wielded terrifying, powerful curses. It was one thing to carry it around for self-defense, but keeping it a secret from her companion did not amuse Aoko in the slightest. It was like going out to eat with a grenade in your pocket.
まあ、次からは一言お願いね。他のプロイならいいけど、今のやつだけは別よ。できれば洋館限定にしてほしいぐらい。
悪かったわ。でも最近何も食べさせてなかったから。
Alice walked slowly along toward the puppet's arm, rolling along the platform. What had just occurred made perfect sense. It needed to eat, so she let it eat. But the beast could not be seen, and there was no bloodshed on account of the victims being made of plastic.
青子、ちょっと。
Alice said, picking up the puppet arm.
これを見て。私たちは今まで相手を人形使いと思っていたけど、正確には違ったみたい。わかる？この人形たちは新しすぎる。この子たちが作られたのは17世紀以後よ。それはそれで信じがたいことだけど。なんですって？
Though it sounded contradictory, automata typically perform better with age. After the 17th century, as the metrical concept of using puppets and mannequins declined, automata suitable for combat became harder to produce. In recent years of automata manufacturing, even low-ranked familiars to be used in training could be produced inexpensively and with relative decent quality. Therefore, it was common for modern puppet masters to collect parts made before the 17th century and use them in their creations. The high price of automata often came not from their combat abilities, but the rarity of parts used to make them. However, the enemy mage controlling these puppets used them as fodder, as if they grew on trees. The only conclusion that could be made, therefore, was that their current opponent was a spoiled, rotten upstart mage with no territory of their own to control. Or so Alice and Aoko imagined anyway.
それともう一つ。この構造は三崎氏の結界に似ているわ。まるで自分たちこそがこの町を守る兵士だって主張するぐらい。
Alice presented the evidence to Aoko, who was waving away the fog from around her. She felt profound surprise and then rapid realization.
そういうことなのね。
Aoko muttered to herself violently, hurling the arm against the platform. Her face twisted with anger and a hint of fear.
惜しげもなく骨董品を出してくると思ったら、そもそも出し惜しむほどのものじゃなかったわけか。確かにあの女なら町の結界にも反応しないし、私の欠点も知ってて当然。視点の退去だって簡単にやってのけるわよね。だって。
Alice quietly looked on in bemusement at Aoko's furious rambling.
青子、これを作ったのはそうなの？ええ、昔から物を作ることに関しちゃずば抜けていたからね、あの人は。
Aoko glared at the severed arm, furious at its creator and herself for taking so long to figure out it was her.
でも、ようやく合点がいった。認めたくないけど、今回の敵は間違いなく私の姉貴。この土地の元継承者、青崎東子その人よ、アリス。
The desolate subway platform returned to silence, Aoko's words lingering uncomfortably in the air. A short time ago at the Kuonji estate, the videotape finished playing. The VCR had automatically stopped playback, foregoing the need to hit the stop button to avoid the static storm. What remained on screen was the reflection of Sojiro and Toko Aozaki sitting opposite each other in conversation.
秘密を知られたから先制なしの直接攻撃。ね。怪獣作を考えもしないのは青子らしいけど。
It was hard to tell if she was being patronizing or indifferent. Toko Aozaki took a sip from her cup as she listened to Sojiro's story. She would have savored an anecdote about the amusement park kerfuffle if it were not for the poor excuse for a cup of tea in her hands.
ありがとう。参考になったわ。ここしばらく青子とは顔を合わせていなかったから、あの子がどんな風に成長したかなんて想像するしかなかったし。それと、一応肉親として謝っておかないとね。 災難に付き合わせて悪かったわ、宗十郎くん。
Alright guys, I'm going to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're going to continue on in the next one.